Hey everybody, this is Doug from Destiny Has No Secrets. I've been promising for a couple weeks now that when the previews would start, I would go over the card pool once we've gained more access to the cards to see. And since the Crane previews have come out, we've seen a pretty much, I would say, the majority of a good portion, a sample of what's going to be in the core set for the Crane cards. So I felt I would go over the entire crank card, what we know up to this point, and just generally give you a review of what I think about them. So I'm going to be splitting this into multiple small videos. So if you this is so if you want to just find out about fake cards or what I think about fake cards, go ahead and skip to that video. We'll I think we'll see how far I get or how much time it takes me to get through the personalities in the dynasty. But we're going to start right ahead. Let's go right ahead here to the conflict. Oh, by the way, I want to give a shout out to all the different podcasts in the community and different content creators in the community for sharing the previews and making them accessible, including the images, which I found these on Reddit, I believe. Yeah, Reddit was where I found these images. I want to say Reddit. Yeah. But if you haven't subscribed to the Reddit thread, go ahead and subscribe to the Reddit thread. We can catch our postings there, as well as discussions and things like that. So, all right. So going ahead, this is Shizuka Toshi, the Crane Stronghold. It is a +2, gives +2 to the province strength. Is city traded. Has an action that says during a conflict, bow the stronghold, choose a participating character with 2 political skill of 2 or lower, and bow that character. Has 11 honor in the beginning, 7 starting fate, or 7 fate, accrues 7 fate around, and 10 influence points. So, what do I think about this? It's a bow action, which is extremely powerful because you don't have to choose it with have any of your participating characters. It can be used in the offense as well as defense. I think it would probably be more or less designed to just kind of drive home those political victories against military decks. A lot of times against political decks, you're not going to see a whole lot of you're going to see like if a deck is political, it's going to have a lot of political assets, and so the bow may not be as relevant in those matchups, like say against Scorpion, for instance. A 2 or lower, a 2 political skill or lower probably won't be as common in those decks. But against like somebody against a lion, this could be really useful, especially since they'll probably be offering just like a speed bump character if you're on the offense. In order to try to drain cards from you or just try to prevent you from taking the province. So overall, I think it's an okay ability. A kind of really rams home the effectiveness of creating during political skill, obviously, political conflicts. I'm fine with it. Yeah, it's yeah. Okay, so going on to the next card we have is Art of Peace, one of the province cards. It is 4 province strength. It has the interrupt ability. When this province is broken, dishonor each attacking character and honor each defending character. And it has an heir of the air ring. We keep in mind that we don't know what these little rings here at the bottom quite mean yet, so we don't know how relevant that is. But yeah, this is good. This is really good. So Crane's going to be one honoring their guys a lot. That's one of their themes, right? And dishonoring a personality creates gives them a penalty, right? So like they'll get a penalty equal to their glory to their military and political skill. And the honored character will get a bonus equal to their glory to their political and military skill. So not only does this trigger a lot of the conditions for that enable cards that we'll get into here in this review. Um, it turns all those cards on, but it also gives them the force pumps and the skill pumps, and it sucks the skill out of your opponent. So if they attacked with a big force of people, like say they were lying deck and they swung in with all their guys on a military skill or military conflict, and they won and they you revealed this, used its action, then all those guys would be dishonored now. Or if they're honored, they would go back to the normal state. That's a huge tempo swing, right? So Crane is kind of all about, becoming immune to your actions, like, or using your own actions against you without acting dishonorable. I think the flavor on this is great because it's just, you attacked me. Now I'm going to become stupid and attack you, right? On the next turn after I gain the political favor and get even more skill pumps to my political or military challenges. This is a great tempo swing card. I think it's awesome in Crane. It's going to obviously be a staple being the core. As most of these cards, a lot of these cards are going to be staples. But I think that this, provided that once we find out what this little symbol down here means, we'll probably see a lot of play as time goes on. It has a pretty enduring quality to it, I sense. So going on, their next holding, they get their holding, which is Artisan Academy. Has a +1 holding, +1 to province strength. Has the Academy trait. Says action during a conflict phase, reveal a top card of your conflict deck. Until the end of phase, you may play this card as if it were in your hand. This is good for a couple different reasons. It's kind of pseudo draw, which so you get to be able to have the potential to play that card if it were, I would assume, an event or something that could be played, right? So if you have, say, the Height of Fashion, which is a attachment card that cannot be played during a conflict, you couldn't play that, right? But for most cards, I think this will be usable for. It's kind of a pseudo draw. It also is good for stalling actions. So like the way for what we know of the turn sequence, these timing windows, each person's going to get an opportunity to play an action, right? And they'll be able to pass. So sometimes you're going to want to stall your actions. You want to like wait to see, wait for them to play their best action or play an action. Especially if you're playing in the mirror matchup where you're going to be playing against a card, a Crane where they have cancellation effects, or if there's other cancellation effects in the game. So being able to stall and wait until they play out most of their, put themselves in the position where they can't play certain cards, is a good thing. So it being one of the Crane holdings that we have seen, it's not something I want to particularly keep around though in my clogging up my provinces. I mean, or that's one of the issues that we're having with holdings, at least that I'm having with holdings, is how many do you include in your deck? Is it really valuable to keep them out there, or do you just kind of use them as actions? Like they flip, you use your action, then you discard them at the end of the turn, right? So overall, I think it's good card though, and it's definitely contribute. I think it'll probably, once you see better holdings, though, will probably rotate out and search for better draw cards or better action cards. So and also like finally, actually, like now thinking about it, like it doesn't. It's the card's out in your hand, right? So there's a number of discarding effects, including a ring claim effect that discards cards from your hands. So there is value in that too. If discarding becomes a big thing in the meta, then this card might be a lot more valuable, right? So we have our first personality. He's Asahina Artisan. He's a one fate cost character with zero military skill, zero political skill, two glory, has the Shikenja and air traits, and has the action during a conflict, bow this character, Choose another Crane character. That character gets +3 until the end of the conflict. Um, cheap bodies. Crane, I think, is going to be no exception to the rule where cheap personalities are just good, and I can honestly see. And it was pointed out to me, it might be a really good technique or tactic to throw guys out, honor them, really easily, with the various means that you have of honoring them, and then just have them die, right? So you're getting those honors. So there is that. So any one fate costed character has an automatic value being in Crane because you have the potential of being able to trigger honor effects for really or gain that honor for really cheaply, right? But even more than that, she's not really a zero political skill, zero military skill. Because like I don't think you can really count any character in Crane as being just what they are. You have to consider what they are when they're honored. So her two glories here, when she becomes honored, she becomes a two military, two political for one fate. That's insanely good, right? Not only that, but she also has this ability, which she doesn't need to be in the conflict for, or choose a character in the conflict for, which is also really good. So she could, be in the conflict, choose somebody else with a political skill, have them use their abilities, or there's any number of effects that could be important for the fact that she can use this. It only has to be played during a conflict. That's pretty solid. And being a Shikenja, she has access to. Let's find the card here, the neutral card. These other cards. She has access to the spell Cloud the Mind, right? So play only. Cloud the Mind is a one fate cost, zero military, zero political. Spell error. Play only if you have a Shikenja character. Tree attached character if it's printed text box were blank, except for trade. So having Shikenja and you're having access to Shikenja in a deck that wants to control is really good because you have access to, at least out of the core box, from what we've seen, one of the more powerful that in the core for control purposes. So really, really excellent card. Um, yeah, and I think that she's just good cheap stock body. Let's go on to the next. Asahina Storyteller. It's a 4 fate cost character, so higher end. 2 military, 2 political, 2 glory. Has the traits Courtier Shikenja Air. Has a sincerity keyword trait. Let's just call it trait. Which says that when this character leaves play, draw 1 card. And has the ability each honored Crane character you control gains sincerity. That's so good. So good. So like I said, you have to consider every character. Um, you have to consider every character in their honor status. So let's start. Well, all right. Let's start with this stats. So 2-4 right off the bat is insanely good ratio. Even the military being 2, yeah, that's something to brag about, but it's also in Crane. So he'll be able to contribute a little bit, and if he's honored, he'll have 4 military skill. That's something to shake a stick at. That seems to be pretty good on the higher end of the ratio. And then his political skill is 4. If he's honored, 6. Really good attribute. I mean, so like the difference, it's really amazing to me. The difference in levels. So 1 and 2, just as a real side, 1 and 2 fate costed characters, kind of in the same camp and power level. They're pretty good. Pretty stable. What you would expect out of cheap personality. But when you get to the 4 cost or the 3 or 4 costs, there's a significant step up. 3 is significantly higher than the 1 and 2s, and 4s are significantly higher than the 3 fate costed characters. So there is that. This gives you a blanket ability though. If you have like 5 honored guys out, which is pretty, I would imagine, probably fairly easy to do in a Crane deck. Each of those guys giving them draw when they leave play is insanely good. Well, for one, Crane's not going to want to draw a whole lot because they don't want to give their honor away. They want to be generally gradually gaining honor or making so they could win it. In addition to fighting their battles, right? Two, or so like this basically substitutes their card draw, right? In addition to being a Shikenja for the previous reasons that we talked about Shikenja and the Courtier, which I'm not really not gonna. I mean, Courtier is nothing really super to brag about because I would expect them to have a lot of Courtiers, but it's there, for what it's worth. This is really good. I'd say probably the only negative drawbacks is he's probably not a character you would want to play first turn, because he doesn't in himself doesn't do much other than just replace himself with a card for in your conflict hand. He's just a set of stats. He doesn't have any onboard action, so I'd probably play somebody else who's cheaper over him on the first or second turn. Um, but he's definitely good for the mid-range 2 to 4 when you're finding yourself, you've spent some actions, you haven't been drawing much, when you need to have those cards replaced and you're about ready to, those guys that you bought on the first or second turn, which are about ready to run out of fate, you want to get a couple cards off of those guys. So it makes each personality in play that's honored becomes better, more efficient because he becomes into play. So if you could swing him, I definitely think that he's a very good card in that mid game to maintain that tempo, that you may have gained early on or that you want to gain early on. Good stuff. Good stuff. This is Brash Samurai. Sorry for the image, by the way. It's the best image I could find. 2 fake cost, 2 military, 1 political, 2 glory, Bushi, and he has an action that says when this character is your only participating character in a conflict, honor this character. Not much to say. He's a good body. He when on like with every crane, you have to consider when they're honored. So he'll be 4 military, 3 political when they're honored. When honored. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. Not only that, but he becomes a threat. So like, let's say you want to reserve your military guys, at home, like your other Daidoji or whatever personalities that have reasonable military strength. You can just swing him out, on the offensive here, and just to try to drain resources, even if you don't really have much in the hand, because he's going to be, him by himself is going to absorb time and energy, right? So if it's first action and you see they have a personality that has really strong onboard kill action or something like that, you throw them out there, right? They have to deal with him. And if they don't deal with him, then he's just going to honor himself, right? And we already talked about the flooding board full of personalities that are honored, to gain their honor. And this guy's the perfect example of that. You want to throw him out there, get him killed, so you gain that honor, and threaten some provinces. And he can also fill in with the group too. After he's honored, especially. So he's not bad, not bad. Basically, he can give himself a 2 force or 2 military force pump or 2 political force pump. He's a good chump blocker too. If you just want to have a solo guy. Although he wouldn't be my first option if I was going to solo block, but yeah, he's good. Good stuff. Alright, this is Daidoji Nerishima. And I think this is the first. Yeah, this is the first unique personality we've seen. So, he's a unique, 2 fate costed character, 3 military skill, 1 political skill, 1 glory. He has Bushi and Scout traits. His action is choose a face down card in one of your provinces, turn that card face up. So, real quick about the uniques. So, uniques have a couple. Well, one they have, so when a unique flips and you have the unique in play, you can add a fate to it. So there's that. That means that you can have more than one unique in your deck. so you can have a playset. I'm assuming 3. Um, that means that unique personalities merely have an inherent advantage built into them, which gives you fate, essentially. So instead of having to pay a fate, right? So like say you were originally going to put him out into play and put 2 fate on him. Well, because he himself is unique, you could flip 2 Daruja Nishimas, bring 1 into play, put 1 fate on him, and then put another fate on him with the other copy of Daruja Nirishima. Now you have his action, which turns a face down card face up. That means that during your dynasty phase, you can flip up your personalities. Let's say you flip up a unique personality like Hotaru, right? Bring her in. Now you could flip that card face up, have another chance of seeing another copy of Hotaru, and bring her in, or another even cheap guy or holding or etc. or so forth. Really strong. Really strong. Worth every pound of the 2 fate because he accelerates your deck. He himself has the unique ability. His 3 military strength is really good out of Crane. You're not seeing that a whole lot on base. So, and the only drawback here is the glory of 1. So, it makes him 4, which, being honored, other personalities could become comparable to very easily. But you're not always going to be honored, even though you are the faction that wants to do it the most, I would think. So, yeah, I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it. I don't think he'll be in all decks though. Initially yes, obviously, because there's not going to be that limited. But as time goes on, he may be phased out as different deck types emerge. So, because he doesn't contribute, he only contributes accelerating your board state, which in itself is really good, but could be, traded out for other things. That's all I'm saying. All right. Doji Challenger, 3 fate cost, 3 military skill, 3 political skill, 2 glory, Bushi, and duelist trait. Action. While this character is attacking, choose a character controlled by your opponent. Move that character to this conflict. Harpoon actions are always strong in L5R. And I think that they're still going to be strong. They were strong in the old game. I think they're really going to be strong in this game too. You're going to swing in. They're going to have 2 options in the first turn. They're going to have to either, defend and chump block or try to defend fully, right? Depending on what the ring effects are or how the impact is now. But there's still a second attack, right? And everything about that second attack depends upon what they have, if they have enough guys on board to defend against it, right? So, and they're probably going to be skimping, right? They're going to go, okay, if you're playing against Lion, you expect, okay, so for the military, military is probably going to be pretty strong, right? Their political is probably going to be pretty weak. So you attack in military, you harpoon in their political guy, right? Now you can swing in uncontested on their political or against weaker opponents. Or you could stall in a military attack that's about to come. Really strong. Now we talk about her traits. Military and political, 3/3 for 3 with the 2 glory. So when she's honored, she's 5/5. Insanely good. I don't know how relevant the duelist trait's going to be. I expect it will be fairly. There will be quite a few cards that key off of it since it's kind of one of their primary themes. So that could be really good. Yeah, really, really good. So this seems about we're halfway through. Let's let's pause it right here and we'll come back for a second video to finish out the rest of the Dynasty cards. So if thank you for watching. Watch the next video. Should be a little pop-up window or something. And please like and subscribe. We'll see you in a couple minutes.